pull my book up. We're going to start with Avengers.
Avengers. Let me get it on my desktop.
All right, here we go. All right, we are back. We're going to kick the books off here with the hero section, and Carl's going to start things off with the book Avengers #9. You got the solicited and everything up, ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
All right, here we go. Carl, take it away for Avengers #9.
So we have Avengers #9. Writer is Mark Waid. Art by Mike Del Mundo. Colors by Mike Del Mundo with Marco D'Alfonso. The letters is VC's Travis Lahan. Secret Empire tie-in. The most loved Avenger of all time has shown his true colors. The Avengers will have to put their allegiance to Steve Rogers aside and fight the good fight. But for one Avenger, that fight is very far away indeed. Trapped in the nameless land, a timeless time, can Thor find her way back here and now in order to return to the struggle? So we start this issue off with Thor in a different world. For this one here, it kind of sums it all up in just the solicit. So these guys are on the beach and they're digging, and they come up to this.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's a beach. It's like goo they're digging in.
Yeah,
it is like goo.
It is like, it looked like a beach, but you have them digging around, and then you get to this statuesque figure, and it's Jane Foster Thor taking some goop off of her.
Yeah, that's why I think it. I didn't know it was really goop until she starts.
Yeah, until the second page. But
Yeah,
my thing is, you got her throwing the things up, and then you get to the next page, and she's being pulled out of this like pile of goop by this guy that's been going to be with her through most of the issue. And he's actually narrating the entire story. So the story is being narrated by one of these people in this nameless place. And Thor's, where's my hammer? It's a tool. It's usually what keeps me in this form. If I'm without it for too long, I can die. And then, she's like, well, I guess nothing happens on this planet, or wherever we're at. So she goes with him in search of this object that can take her back to her time and her when. So they're on this journey, and the whole thing is he's questioning whether she's actually a god. He's, basically just telling the story of everything. And Jane eats this food that he, just to make sure she don't die, and she instantly throws up. It's kind of...
yeah, those are just the rations they packed.
Yeah, just the rations they packed, so they can say how long they've been gone. And they're getting ready to go, and the guy's like, well, you didn't have a hammer, so here, I made one for you, and hands her just like an old-looking wooden hammer so she could have a hammer with her. So she's looks shocked when she gets it. And they just go on this journey to this place that is a mountain with lightning coming down on it.
He's the guy that took over their world.
Yeah.
The monster took over their world, basically. He's making them all slaves.
And they literally have to, get there. There's the object is there for her to get back to her when, her time, her place. So every time they stop to eat, she is literally throwing up, because the next panel after you get this page with this monster, she's sitting down on a log throwing up. So she can't handle the food in this nameless land. And they're going along, and she told him stories about the rainbow bridges, the fossil fuels, the frost giants, a game called Cricket that took 2 entire sun cycles to explain. So she's been there for a long time. And he was afraid that if he actually asked what the Duckworth-Lewis method was, she would actually tell him the entire thing for that. So they're traveling for a long time. It doesn't seem like long with the book, but 2-3 days already have passed and they're just traveling. They're barely getting anywhere. And these monsters come up to attack them. And he's like, go on, you go do what you need to do. I'll stay here. And she just like tears them apart and proves to him her strength as a god, but he still doesn't know if it's going to be enough to take on what's going to happen later on. So when they get to the mountains, he's willing to, go up face the fears, but he can't do it. He bolts, and Death is fast, but Thor is faster. Lightning bolt strikes at him, but she catches it right before it hits him. Great page there for art.
Awesome.
Then we get to the actual fight where, she comes in, they come in, she asks, who are you? Guy's like, this is my home. You are not entitled to be the one asking questions. What I wish to know. And then lightning comes flashing down out of his mouth and starts attacking her as who would be foolish enough to challenge the might of Yod. So they go out and they battle, and the guy that she was with finds the device to send her back to her time, but it only has enough for one shot. So he goes to give it to her and says, you go ahead and leave us. You go home. Forget about us. Just take care of yourself. And then Thor, being the mighty warrior and good person she is, stays and fights, defeats the bad guy, and sends this guy back to his time with the gun instead of sending herself back. And then she stays there, and I'm not fighting you for Asgard or for Earth. I'm fighting you for my friend, and blasts him down with lightning and destroys him. And that is how this book ends.
Yeah, well, it ends with her still stuck in this world that she entered, and she sent the guy that she traveled with, basically this guy she built this bond up with on this journey they went on together, back to a place wherever his family was sent to, which might be heaven. It might be a different planet, because they didn't really they said
didn't explain it. Yeah,
when that big mountain guy sent everybody off.
Yeah, so it takes you to where you see home in your head.
Yeah, where you want to go, wherever you're thinking you want to go, that's where it takes you.
So he went to wherever his family ended up being.
Or I guess it could be heaven or something.
Yeah, that's where it leaves it a little vague. You're not really sure where she sends him, but she sacrifices her trip back home to make this dude happy, because I don't know, he took her on this journey of friendship and bond, and she just basically made the hero sacrifice.
I believe
in the end,
it didn't feel forced or anything. Like I did. That's our issue. Had a lot of heart, like to it.
Yeah. No, it was a cool issue. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would for somebody that hasn't followed the Avengers title really since Hickman left it. Just mostly because I haven't been a huge fan of everybody on the team. It's not really been a classic team lately. But
yeah,
that wraps up Avengers number 9. Just overall, as far as how we rate things, we tell you guys to buy, borrow, or forget it altogether. That's kind of our little theme, our tagline. But Carl, this was your book. This is the hero section. So what do you think? Buy, borrow, or forget this issue altogether?
I'm gonna say borrow. For a Secret Empire tie-in that was solely about Thor trying to get off of wherever she was, it was pretty good read. Honestly, I like these tie-ins that we've been covering for the podcast much better than the actual event we've been getting. And seeing as we have the delay next week, I'm actually, walking into next week relieved rather than upset that we're not getting a Secret Empire main event issue. But this tie-in, with it being a Secret Empire tie-in, we didn't really get too much event stuff. So it was kind of a break. So I liked it. But I'd still give it a borrow.
Trev, what do you think overall?
Oh, yeah. Well, I got to say that I'm not normally a big fan of Mike Del Mundo's art. It worked well for the first story because it was the Kang storyline and a bunch of crazy stuff happened going through time. But it really works well for this story because it does. I do feel like I'm in this world. I feel like I'm in this world when I read this book. You know what I mean? Like the character designs for these that nobody's ever seen before for these characters that like they're brand new. It was beautiful. The world was beautiful. The story had a lot of heart. I loved the relationship that was built up between Thor and Hekla. I think his name was Hekla.
Yeah.
I love the relationship built up between the two of them over time. I love the journey when she goes to this new world. This whole journey happens. She gets to learn their customs. She gets to eat their food. He makes her the hammer. And they just go on this awesome adventure together, and the art is beautiful, and I liked the ending. Just how much I liked this issue. I was gonna rate it a borrow, and it is a borrow because it's a tie-in. It's kind of a one-shot story. I don't know where we're gonna pick up from here. I don't judge him by the next cover. It doesn't look like it'll explain how she gets back, or if it does, maybe it'll just touch on it for a moment.
Yeah.
So. I mean, if you don't normally collect Avengers, it's kind of a one-shot story, and it doesn't really matter to stay out of it. But if you could borrow it, I'd say definitely borrow it and check it out because it's a lot of fun for a one-shot story. So, yeah, it's a borrow. But It's really good. It's right below a buy.
Yeah. As far as what I thought overall, I don't usually like this style art paired with the Avengers title in general, but I thought the way that this story was told and like a different planet it was taking place on, that it suited it perfectly. Yeah. For like a flashback or for a flash forward or even like a Doctor Strange title, this would be perfect art. But yeah, it would. Like consistently for present day storytelling, it's tough on an Avengers title. But overall, I liked it for this story, and it meshed well with what was being told and the world that was being built around it. And I really like the story and how it builds up and introduces this new character slowly, but shows that he has heart and he cares about who he's traveling with and just looking to break the monotony of his everyday chores that he's responsible for. So he takes Thor on this journey, and she ends up just being a selfless hero that proves she's a badass even without her hammer. And being fully powered, catching the lightning was an awesome scene, and there were a few other moments that I really liked. And as far as a one-shot tale goes, even if it's not a book that you follow, if you're reading Secret Empire, like this is one of the tie-ins to pick up. I overall just lean towards a buy. Maybe I'm in a good mood this week. I don't know what it is, but I haven't read, like I said, many Avengers books with the Avengers title on them since Hickman left, and this was probably one of my favorite that I have glanced through and checked out since that time. So yeah, I gotta give it a buy based on just all that, and compared to like a one shot we're going to talk about here coming up next, like just worlds better in comparison. So and you get a full story, like it's not rushed to a conclusion to kind of be chopped off at the knees due to page count issues and things like that. This was just a good one shot, and I
really
wish
shows
Mark
Waid's
paced
storytelling ability. It really was.
It was paced perfectly. So it's a quick read. There's not a whole lot of words. There's a bunch of art to appreciate, and everything just worked well together for a buy for me. But with that being covered, the hero section being finished, we're gonna transition to the spider section. And with a new movie out this week, they snuck a new #1 out there, which I don't know, to say that it worked. I guess you could say it did in a way because they got me. So Spider-Man Master Plan #1 is the book that we're going to be talking about next. And it's not a normal in continuity Spider-Man tale. It's written by Robbie Thompson. Artist is Nathan Stockman. Colorist is Jim Campbell. there were a couple different covers for this book, and if you ended up being able to check out the one by Giuseppe Camuncoli, that's the one I ended up getting, and it's really the only, spoiler alert, redeeming thing in this issue, even though it wasn't horrible all the way through. It's just, I don't know, a little disappointing. I don't know what I was expecting, to be honest, but let's get into the solicit here, then we'll get into the story. Crime does pay, apparently. Everything's going perfectly for Peter Parker. He's got some time off, and he landed tickets to the hottest Broadway show in town, which means there's another shoe ready to drop somewhere. Join everyone's favorite web slinger in an all-new story against his classic foe, the Crime Master. And then you also get a special reprint of Amazing Spider-Man #2 featuring the first appearance of the Vulture. And again, that's why I said it's conveniently timed one shot here, because you got the first appearance of the Vulture, and the Vulture's in the Homecoming movie. So, it all worked out in the end for Marvel anyway. But let's get into the book here. It starts off with, obviously, I don't know, what a younger Peter Parker, teenage style Peter Parker. And Robbie Thompson was the one that did the, remember the series just titled Spidey?
No.
Nobody does. It came out last year, and I'm pretty sure he was the one responsible for that series. So I think this is kind of like an issue that was in the can for that series that they just kind of dug out and threw a Amazing Spider-Man 2 with Vulture's first appearance in it, because they had this book laying around. Because the Spidey series took place when Spider-Man was younger, and it would highlight, first meetings with villains and stuff like that.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So things start off here, and Spider-Man has a ticket to the hottest play on Broadway called The Founding Fathers, and that's just like a ripoff of Hamilton. Am I mistaken there, or what?
No, you're right.
So there's a sly little joke if you're in the know on what plays are in Broadway. And in the midst of him kind of having a mental celebration in his own head, his spider sense goes off and sees these robbers speeding away in, I don't know, what looks like kind of a yellow Camaro-ish type car. So he swaps his gear, his hoodie and jeans for his spider suit, and takes off after the car. I guess this ends up being a taxi, though. It looks like a Camaro, I guess, for a second. But by the time Spider-Man sets up his webs and distracts the bad guys right into their path, so they go flying out the front window, before he even knows what's going on, he's getting cussed out by the owner of the car. For what? For ruining his windows and I don't know, standing on the hood, I guess, is what he's all pissed about.
You're a menace.
Yeah, so he J. Jonah Jameson's, gives him a J. Jonah Jameson threat, and Spider-Man hops on away. The spider sense goes off again as he's in midair, and he's gonna repeat this joke throughout the issue here. He's like, please be a cat, please be a cat, please be a cat. It's not a cat, it's some bank robbers. So basically Spider-Man, for the majority of the second act and end of the first act and beginning of the third act of this issue, just is hopping around New York City, answering the random calls that are setting off his spider sense and stopping just crimes going down in progress. Like the next one he runs into is just bank robbers. He webs to the side of the van, takes care of, I don't know, just a montage of villains here in a row, leaving notes on their head and bringing them to the police and trying to get all this done in enough time to make his show of Founding Fathers before they close the doors on them. And they don't let you in plays once they've started, I guess, is what he's trying to beat in time. At one point, he pulls up his, I don't know, like his high-tech spider signal to see what's still going on in the area, and kind of maps out a path, how he can get from one end of the city to the other and still make the show in time, all while also still taking care of all these issues. So we get another montage page here of just like 5 dots of him taking care of random masked villains. And he starts to put a connection together that all this is leading back to Stark Tower, kind of coordinated attacks to keep the police and other superheroes in town busy, while a bigger heist occurs elsewhere, which again is at this point Spider-Man figured out Stark Towers, because everything is directed away from that area. So he goes to Stark Towers. He immediately runs into Crime Master, just kind of an old-timey Spider-Man villain, just one of those mobster types, kind of like Hammerhead and guys like that. He's trying to steal some Stark tech. Him and Spider-Man get in a very quick little fight where it looks like he has the upper hand on Spider-Man, kind of chasing him out this window. And as Spider-Man looks like he's falling, just simply webs Crime Master out the window with him. Crime Master starts kind of shitting his pants, thinking he's going to die, until Spider-Man, you know, obviously has him directed right into a spider hammock set up between the buildings and webs him up, heads back off for his play, all to find out that it was closed. Like, I don't know if that means the play was closed and it never happened that day, or like he just missed the time to get in. What? I'm not a play guy. Do you know?
I think he might have missed it entirely, but I don't know much about plays. But do you remember that? Do you remember Spider-Man 3? Was it Spider-Man 3 or Spider-Man 2?
Yeah, Spider-Man 2.
When he went to go see Mary Jane and Bruce Campbell wouldn't let him in the play because he was late.
Yeah, I think that's what's going on here too. You know, Spider-Man on his walk, disappointed home, comes across a TV report where obviously he's portrayed as helping Crime Master. And then his spider sense goes off one more time and he has to save some little boy's cat. So that's the end of that story. The end. The one shot is over. Well, not over, because that was the 22-page story. Then you get the reprint of a backup, the duel to the death with the Vulture. And that's, again, from Amazing Spider-Man 2 way back in the day. So we're not really going to recap that bad boy, but it's attached to the one-shot if you're interested in old Spider-Man reprint to go along with a newer throwback Spider-Man story one-shot. And if what we summed up interests you, I mean, that's what you're in store for here. You know, not really a story that, again, adds anything to Spider-Man overall canon or continuity. It's just a quick little story about Spider-Man trying to catch a play on time, stopping Crime Master and all that he's organized in the process. And that's really all there is to say about it. There's not a whole lot to discuss.
What was the cover price on this?
It was $3.99. I mean, so you get an extra large book for $3.99. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, 37 pages, not bad for $3.99.
So, let me double check that on Comixology. Yeah, it's $3.99 in Comixology. So, Marvel books are usually priced the same, especially the same week they release. But overall, like I said, I enjoyed the art. The art was pretty good. Peter looks a little old for a teenager in some panels. That would probably be my only complaint, but it was a nice little Spider-Man story throwback to his younger days. If I had to really give it a compliment, I found it funnier than Spectacular Spider-Man that just came out. Like the jokes hit better for me, but overall this is just a flat out forget, not like a book you need for your collection to feel complete or anything. It's literally a book Marvel released to have a number one out the week of the movie. I'm 100% positive that was the decision making going in behind this. This is just like an in the can story that had nothing to do with anything.
Most definitely.
Yeah. So what do you think?
Well, like, yeah, the art was pretty good. It wasn't bad. You know, the jokes did land. They were actually funny. Like when I read them, I giggled a little bit. Like when he pulls Crime Master out of the window, and Crime Master's like, "We're gonna die," and he's like, "Of course we are." And then it waits till the next panel for him to go, "Someday," and they landed the hammock. But it was just hilarious for your eyes to go over to that panel and him just go, "Of course we are." That was just hilarious.
Yeah.
But so it did have some funny moments. It was just like like a day in the life of Spider-Man, basically. Like as as a kid, just stopping regular crimes and coming upon a bigger scheme at work and stopping that. It was all right. It was a forget for me. I read it. It wasn't a bad issue, but I just kind of didn't care because there are so many Spider-Man books already
Yeah, I know.
that I was like, what do we need this for? I understand, and I know I totally agree with you. It's just to have a #1 out because it's the week of the movie release. But I mean, Jesus, come on. I mean, it was unnecessary.
If you got like a kid that you brought to the Spider-Man movie and he's like 10 or 11, and you take him to the comic book shop after, like, this wouldn't be bad for him to. You get an extra large Spider-Man book to dip through. You get a current story and an old story to kind of get a taste of both sides of them. And
yeah, this would be a good starting point for a kid.
That's what this is for, I think.
The bummer for them is, though, it's just a #1. I mean, they have the Infinite That's the funny part. They have the Infinite Comics, the ones like for kids based on like the Disney XD cartoon TV shows.
Yeah.
And then you got your regular Spider-Man books in this. But yeah, you're right. This would be good for that. And only that. But it wasn't bad. It wasn't awful. It was hilarious. They had its hilarious moments, and the art was decent. But yeah, it's a forget.
What do you think, Carl? You got a difference of opinion there?
Not this week. With it being just a one shot, it didn't hit hard enough for it to be, in the buy category. It was a good story, but the art was decent. The only thing that really got me and that's going to keep it as a forget for me is the repeating of the same joke the cat joke. Let it be a cat in the tree. Let it be a cat in the tree. And then when he gets the cat in the tree, he's like, "Son of a bitch, I got a cat in the tree."
Yeah. Well, that's because he didn't need the cat in the tree at that point in time. But yeah,
right. I get where that ended, like how it ended. But it would have been funnier had it have ended the last thing he did before he got the, Crime Master. Like, finally got that cat in a tree, only to find out that there's a bigger plot. Like, if it would have been one thing earlier and he just ended not hitting the thing on time and it was over, I think it would have been funnier in my eyes. But that's just me. But I wouldn't agree with all you guys for this issue.
All right, well, that's going to kill book section #1 for us. You guys 2-1'd me on Borrow for Avengers #9, and then we unanimously went for Forget for Spider-Man Master Plan #1. With some other Spider-Man choices available for that week, I wish I would have went with something different now. But yeah. That's all in the past. Easy choice next week as far as I'm concerned, and we'll get to that at the end of the show. But we're going to skip ahead, take a quick little break here, and then skip ahead to Carl's Midpoint Marvelous Facts, where we're going to feature Crime Master and Jane Foster this week. So we'll be right back after this quick PSA with some Midpoint Marvelous Facts. All right, we could probably knock. No, let's just do a quick cut here. I'll send you a new invite. Does anyone need like a pee break or anything?
Yeah, I got to go to the bathroom. I want to get a drink real quick. Go to the bathroom real quick.
All right. Well, I'll send the invite out in like 2 minutes then.
All right.
All right.